Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. This is one of my favorite rants of all time. Are you ready? Okay. My name is Annie and I'm clinically overweight. What is overweight? According to our society right now, we determine whether someone is underweight, normal healthy weight, overweight, or obese according to one number. That is BMI. BMI stands for Body Mass Index and is just a ratio of your height and weight, and honestly, 90% of the time, it should be completely disregarded. Let's look back to the earliest 19th century where a Belgian mathematician named created the formula for BMI. Weight divided by height squared. In terms of if we're using English measurements, that would then be multiplied by 703 just as a factor to get it the same as metrics, but same weight divided by height squared. This formula was produced as a hack for the government to see an overview of the general obesity of a population. He himself said explicitly that this formula could not and should not be used to determine the level of fatness of an individual. Oh my gosh, it's almost like a school assignment when you're in a group project for reading and you're all supposed to read a certain chapter and then you only have to turn in one written summary of the chapter, and you somehow still choose the summary of the guy who's openly sitting there in the corner saying, yes, I spark noted it and I didn't even finish it, yet somehow you still choose it. Like, this is what has happened. Freaking Lambert, blah, 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 blah. But regardless, let's look back on this formula. It only accounts for two things: weight and height. I'm sorry, what? Since when can my health be determined based on two things that were basically already predisposed? Height, I can't change. And weight, everyone has a set point. Even if that's a range, that's something. I can't change. Can we just talk about all the other indicators for health that aren't taken into account here? How about the number one indicator for obesity, waist size? It's not taken into account. Or how about bone density, which is twice as dense as fat? Muscle itself even weighs more than fat. A liter of muscle is like 2.3 pounds, while a liter of fat is only 1.98 pounds. So muscle isn't taken into account, bone density isn't taken into account, even fat. The amount of fat isn't taken into account. Also, body fat distribution, where you hold the fat, that isn't taken into account. How about things like age or sex? That's not taken into account. How about things like water weight, which changes on the daily? That's also not taken into account. How about just the fact of genes and genetics and genetic predispositions, things we can't change that make us who we are, that make us different from everyone else, that isn't taken into account. Even things like pre-existing diseases and illnesses aren't taken into account, but that can drastically change your body's set point and where your body is supposed to be and what's healthy for your body. Something else that's drastically off with the BMI scale is the ranges that it uses. By defining health within these ranges, it makes the difference between healthy weight and overweight a super sharp cutoff. The gain of like 1 pound could be the difference of healthy weight and overweight, which is insane because your body weight can fluctuate up to 10 pounds daily. In one day, your body can change up to 10 pounds. Yet you could be the difference between healthy weight and overweight by 1 pound. What? If what I'm throwing at you right now doesn't make you mad, this will. The only reason why the US keeps this around as the standards for determining health is it's the cheapest. There have been alternative methods found that can be used and are ready to be used and are reliable, but the US has not switched over because the BMI scale is the most cost effective. So yes, every time you go to the doctor, you will see that beautiful graph of wrongness. Thank you, US. Now, this is why it gets to me personally. 3 days ago, I had a physical, and it was the first time I weighed myself in probably 3 months or so. The nurse that was weighing me asked me what I normally weigh so she could measure up the weight BMI scale accordingly. And I was like, usually between 145, 150, and it wasn't matching up. So she moved me over to an electric scale, and it read 156. Now, honestly, I didn't get freaked out in the slightest in that moment. For someone who used to obsess constantly over her weight, who used to weigh herself dozens of times in one day, seeing that for the first time in 3 months, seeing that I had gained 6 pounds, honestly, I didn't care. I was feeling pretty good. What got to me is that the nurse said, I'll just take your word for it, and wrote down 145. And she said, just so the doctor won't ask you any questions. So let me give you a better understanding here. On the BMI scale, anything under an 18.5 is underweight. Anything between an 18.5 and a 25 is healthy weight. Anything between 25 and 30 is overweight, and anything above 30 is obese. So for me, at what my average has been recently at 5'5" and 145 pounds, my BMI is 24.1, nearing overweight, but still healthy weight. At 5'5" and 150 pounds, which is usually the upper end of my set point, or what has been, the BMI is 25.0. So right at that sharp cutoff of, hey, I'm overweight. So again, some days I could be a healthy weight, and the next day I could wake up and be like, hey, I'm overweight. But so on that day, when I was 5'5", sorry, my height hasn't changed, I wish I could grow, but it's not working. So at 5'5" and 156 pounds, my BMI was 26.0. Gasp. So I already did a video on how numbers can't define you, and I've gone a long way in that personal journey, and honestly, the number I didn't really care about. I was feeling pretty good. What got to me is so the doctor won't ask you about it. Now, this is something I can totally relate to because I've always been borderline of that 25 BMI. Every time I've gotten a physical, at least for the past few, the doctor's been like, you're getting pretty close there. You should start, eating just a little less. You could lose a few pounds, And I sat there and I was just like, yeah, as I was thinking about where I wanted to get lunch after, yet this visit, it was official. I'd officially gotten over the hump of 25. I was at 26. Whew, big moment for me. I was thinking maybe I should throw a party. This is pretty cool, right? Now I'm overweight. And immediately in that moment, I was unhealthy. It was just like, I'm unhealthy. Wrong. Honestly, I can't help but laugh because in the last 3 months, I have hit PRs, major PRs in my bench and my deadlift and my squat. I have been constantly eating a lot of protein to keep me fueled and keep my muscles energized and ready to do all the crazy stuff I do. I have also been eating constantly, something I didn't do years ago. And not to mention, I was eating up to the extent of being full and listening to my body and stopping when I was full. Again, something I used to never do. And currently I am feeling the most energized and fueled and honestly happiest and strongest that I've ever been. So guys, if that's unhealthy, I don't want to be healthy again. I'd like to implement a trigger warning for anyone who has had major body image issues or anything related to eating disorders for the following content. In my journeys with eating disorders, by freshman year of high school, I was officially weight restored. That meant my BMI just got over that 18.5. So at me at 5'5", that meant 112 pounds. So that meant at the doctor, there were no more questions asked because I was back in the healthy range. So I was fine. I was healthy. Not. I could barely eat a full meal without exercising it all off or purging it out. I was crazy and obsessed with numbers, and I couldn't go 2 seconds without thinking about food. My hair was so thin and falling out, and I still hadn't had my period for a year at this point, but I was in the healthy range. I was honestly like binging all the time, and I couldn't even look at food normally, and just swallowing food was the hardest thing I had to accomplish. But again, I was in the healthy range, so I was fine. The BMI used to be a huge defining mark in my life, but I can tell you now it no longer has that power over me. Also, hear me out, everyone has different set points and weights, so please don't take my numbers into account when comparing your body, because your body is so different and so unique, and it can never be on the same playing field. So if you were in the range I was when I was super unhealthy, honestly, that could be your set point, and you could be super healthy and thriving and striving at that point. So please don't take my numbers into account. You should never be comparing numbers with someone else. I did make another video about how you are more than a number and how you can't compare numbers with other people, so like check that out. Also check out my other videos, shameless self promo. But back to BMI, jeez, like don't take that number into account. Like, please hear me out. If you are 5'5" and 70 pounds, or 5'5" and 270 pounds, or anything to the extremes, yes, the BMI is probably accurate. But for the majority of people who are somewhere in the middle range, you are fine. Understand it with caution, please, because your health, I'm pretty sure you can feel how healthy you are. When you are eating pretty good and fueling yourself and getting some exercise and not being stressed and you're getting enough sleep, you feel good physically and mentally and emotionally. You feel wonderful. And you know that. You know when you feel healthy, right? So taking into a number that just compares you to an average of other people, of stuff they're genetically predisposed to, is BS. Please listen to your body, because you are the best indicator of your health, not some math formula. Please, you know your body better than anybody. Listen to it. It knows what it's doing. Your body is one of a kind, and nothing on that scale can ever define it. You can never be defined. There has never been another you. There will never be another you. There will never be a better you. Do you know how awesome that is? Like, there's only one you, and it's you, and you can make the most of it, because you are the best you there ever was, the best you there ever will be. So go be you. Go be the best you ever. Go shine like only you can. I'm proud of you. Thank you so much, guys, for making it through. If you got through that whole long thing and listening to one of my favorite things to talk about, if you want to hear more like emotional rants about stuff that I get worked up about, like, let me know. You guys really keep me going, and anything I can do to even just put a smile on your face means the world to me. So keep thriving, keep striving. Just stop looking at those numbers and start looking at that beautiful creature staring back at you in the mirror, because that is pretty awesome. You are pretty awesome. Keep being awesome. I hope you feel awesome today. I hope you feel awesome tomorrow. Keep being you. There will never be a better you. You are just so great, and you should never even think of a number in that way. You are not that number. You are not that scale. You are you, and that's the best thing you could ever be. Thanks, you guys. I'll see you later.